Like breadcrumbs through a forest, Matty Collector and the Masters of the Universe Classics line was all about leaving little clues and little bits of information that would eventually pay off in the long run. As an example, in the Comic-Con 2009 art book, we published the first page of the original draft of the storyline that became Masters of the Universe back in 1982. And in fact, the second and third page was left open in the cabinet that was showing off this book right over here behind the actor. It was available for anyone to look at, and I kind of always wondered why no fans sort of took a picture of this and put the whole story together, because page 1 was in the book and page 2 and 3 were left out publicly. This was the story of the Fighting Foemen. At least that's what the brand was called back then. That was the working title. We first dropped this name in the Vicor bio in MOTU Classics, and this is exactly kind of what I mean by breadcrumbs, where we would leave things and they would pay off later, where eventually the Fighting Foemen were released as a figure set, as a 3-pack of kind of weird vehicle-based figures that were from Preternia and had swappable Horde chest plates. Well, exactly who these characters were, besides using the name that was a reference to the original draft, they were from the model kits. So back in the 80s, besides the Mattel toys, there were also model kits produced of several Masters of the Universe vehicles. And all of these model kits, besides being in, I don't want to call them wacky colors, but the colors didn't match the Mattel toys, per se. They were kind of like off color, I guess, if you will. But all of the models, more importantly, came in really cool boxes with original box art that showed off the vehicles, in mid-battle, I guess you could say, and sometimes they had extra parts, like the Roton had the extra shield or top, I guess, if you will. And if you look real closely, you will see every vehicle was driven by someone. So that is where the Fighting Foeman figures come from. They were the drivers of the original model kits. All right, so that's what they were in Classics. But like every great mystery, like the Corridors of Lithos in Masters of the Universe, there is a greater story and a greater strategy out there. And that's what we're going to explore today. Because that original story, which, again, was published in the 2009 art book, and then the second 2 pages were left out in the cabinet, and I was kind of hoping that fans were going to put it together and be able to create, the story. Well, it never quite happened, so let's do that today. Now, obviously, most people know He-Man like this. They know He-Man, like Battle Cat, and, Prince Adam, and the Transformation, and Castle Grayskull, and all of that kind of stuff. Well, way long before this settled as the story, the very first draft of the story, The Fighting Foemen by Donald F. Glute, was very different. And this is the page that's reprinted in the 2009 art book. So you can go look that up if you have a copy of the art book on hand. I know only like 900 people have that, or 1,000, minus the 6 copies that I have, but that's not important right now. So what was the Fighting Foemen all about, and how did this evolve into the storyline that we know as Masters of the Universe? Well, this is going to be a 2-part video. In this part, I'm going to review Don's original sort of the setting part of it. So this is Don Glute, who was the writer and eventually wrote all of the mini-comics. So the second part, he actually wrote out a draft of the original first mini-comic. So we'll do that in part 2. In this one, we're just going to look at the setting where he talks about things like Castle Grayskull and Eternia. This is the first time those words ever saw print. And of course the Power Gem, which who knows what that was. Well, actually, he had an idea for what it was, but I think it kind of became the Power Sword. And all of these things, for the first time, appear in print here. So Man-at-Arms, even listing out, alternate names for him if Man-at-Arms wasn't the name Mattel wanted to go with. Same thing with characters like Stratos, his original name being Wingman, or an alternate name, Airman. So this was very common. When I was a Mattel copywriter on Hot Wheels, I would usually submit multiple names for characters or cars. You can see the Modifighters video as an example of this. And of course, the infamous D-Man, or D-Man, like the He-Man, D-Man, get it? Like, because he's a demon. That's what Skeletor's original name was. You had other characters like Woodsman, who could have also been Tree Man or Green Man. Is that the guy from Always Sunny in Philadelphia? And He-Man, of course, riding in his chariot against his arch enemy, Beastman. What? Yep, yeah, the original story is a little different. All right, well, without further ado, it's story time. I'm going to read the setting half of this document, word for word. We'll do the mini-comic summary next time, since it's a long document. Grab your favorite drink, pour yourself a cold one, grab your Skeletor action figure, and pull up to the fire, because for the first time in Masters of the Universe history, we're going to read aloud the documents that were first shown at San Diego Comic-Con 2009. No one ever put them all together, so we're going to put them together today, and I'm just going to literally read this document and hope it matches up with the images I chose. All right. In the distant past, or possibly the distant future, a great global war broke out in the distant planet Eternia. The war was waged among the peaceful scientists and sorcerers that ruled that planet. The energies unleashed during that war destroyed the two warring factions and sent Eternia into a space-time warp where it remains held in a timeless limbo. Eternia is a rugged, primitive-type world, inhabited by various warlike races. Occasionally, other beings from distant worlds are cast into the time warp to take refuge on Eternia. The planet's surface is a savage world of dense jungles, dark forests, and active volcanoes. The seas are turbulent and infested with bizarre forms of marine life. The skies are dominated by all manner of strange flying creatures. What little remains of Eternia's past science has been channeled into various weapons of war, weapons appearing both primitive yet strangely futuristic. Among the remains of the pre-war days of Eternia is the ominous and awesome Castle Grayskull. The castle is so ancient that none of Eternia's inhabitants knows who or what built it. What is known is the castle is equipped with all manner of weapons, traps, and devices. The place is a veritable fortress. Legend has it that the castle harbors in some secret place the mysterious power gem, the product of both pre-war science and sorcery. The power gem will make its possessor all-powerful and master of all Eternia. Naturally then, Castle Grayskull and the power gem are coveted items and the reason for much conflict on Eternia. The heroes. Among the various characters living on Eternia are four strange beings that we can consider heroes. They are He-Man, a native of Eternia. Raised by his jungle-dwelling tribe, he is a mass of muscle with incredible physical strength and a short-fused temper. His prowess got him awarded by the tribe's elders a series of fantastic weapons and costumes, which they had found in the ruins of a fortress once occupied by Eternia's pre-war scientists. The costumes augment his strength, each one giving him a single new power, such as a force field, or the increased strength of a Hercules, etc. He-Man loves his power, but he craves excitement and adventure, and so has set off on his own. He does not always fight fair, and often resorts to underhanded methods to get the job done. Man of Arms. Alternate names: Armsman, Nightman, Warman. A cold, calculating, and totally confident master of all weapons. He is trained since childhood by his people in the arts of battle and is master of such weapons as the laser axe, the electro sword, and others that come his way. Unlike He-Man, he is a planner and never plunges into battle without ample protection. He has left his people to right wrongs wherever he finds them, but knows that if necessary, he can summon his people to his side as an army. Wingman, alternate name, Airman. One of the last of a race of mountain-dwelling beings who have mastered the air. Wingman is a denizen of mountain peaks hidden high above Eternia's clouds. He utilizes a flying craft equipped with various weapons resembling characters of flying creatures. A deafening bird's cry siren, a hornet's sting, etc. But he can fly without the use of the craft, thanks to a set of foldable wings, including a set of birds' wings, bats' wings, insects' wings, etc. He has a good sense of humor and is a natural practical joker, which makes him barely tolerable to such brooding characters as He-Man. Merman, alternate name, Seaman, S-E-A, man. The last survivor of an extraterrestrial race of water dwellers. When his water world was drawn into its sun by the force of gravity and evaporated, Merman, a scaly humanoid with fish-like gills and fins, escaped to Eternia and took residence in its seas. There, this intelligent being took command of the sea's creatures. He can exist on land where his strength, accustomed to the pressures of the sea's depths, is increased, but extreme heat can dehydrate him, weakening and eventually killing him. Part 2. The Villains. Each of the villains is out for his own gain, usually to obtain the power gem for himself, but they occasionally accept one of them as their leader. Beastman. Beastman, another native of Eternia's jungles whose tribe or pack has seemingly always been at war with their natural enemies, the human tribe of He-Man. Beastman has formidable strength, but it is his ferocity that makes him a natural leader. He has the agility of a gorilla, but when he dons his various costumes, he takes on the power of other animals, the speed of a gazelle, the charging force of a rhino, etc. Beastman, though he despises He-Man's tribe, yearns to take one or more of its females as its bride. He is totally evil and corrupt. His only redeeming quality is the love he bears for his own race, though it is actually more like instinct than any real emotion. His voice is guttural, almost a growl. D-Man, a regular demon in the flesh. D-Man once inhabited an alien dimension, resembling Dante's version of hell, but was thrown into Eternia's dimension when the Great War created a rift between the two dimensions. D-Man is possibly Beastman's most dangerous ally. He has incredible powers and weapons, which can throw bolts of fire, electrical energy, cold, etc. He can control the very elements, bringing down a terrible storm from a cloudless sky, etc. He speaks in a raspy voice and is waiting for just the right opportunity to turn against Beastman and seize the power gem for himself. Then he will reopen the dimensional rift and bring more of his own race to conquer Eternia. Woodsman, alternate names, Tree Man, Green Man. Another naturally born Eternian, the master of the forests and jungles. Woodsman has the power to control all plant life. Being a man-like plant himself, Woodsman does not have the ability to speak, but he does have telepathic abilities to communicate with others of his kind or other plants. His secret ambition is to subjugate all animal life and make Eternia's plants the ruler of the planet. Ka-Man, named for the crocodilian caiman. A humanoid reptile, not too smart, but incredibly sinister and evil. Being reptilian, this scaly warrior is cold-blooded and susceptible to changes in temperature. When he speaks it is hardly more than a hiss. Like a lizard, he can scale walls, change his color to match his environment, look about in all directions with his globe-like eyes, etc. His various costumes give him extra reptilian powers, the rattle and striking power of a snake, the fiery breath of a dragon, etc. Naturally, his snake-like fangs are venomous. His small reptile's brain affords him little thinking ability and makes him extremely susceptible to taking orders. All right, so that was the original rough draft of what eventually became Masters of the Universe. Obviously, a lot of different things. I mean, Beastman being in charge, Merman being a good guy. I don't know where Teela is. And, Man-at-Arms being kind of the main hero and the leader. He-Man's brooding and angry all the time. Angry! Sounds like the Incredible Hulk. All right, so next time I will read part 2 of this document, which outlines the first mini-comic. It's called Summary of First Book. Obviously, 4 mini-comics were written for the original 1982 launch by Don Glut, and this was his original take on it. And it does include Teela, although she's spelled Tee-La, kind of like Man-at-Arms was Man of Arms. There were definitely some changes there. There were lots of changes. See if you can find them all. All right, so next time we will pick up with a reading of the first draft of the first mini-comic. And as always, you can leave your comments and suggestions and all your positive feedback below. I definitely appreciate a subscription and a thumbs up because that tells YouTube that these are popular videos and they should share with more people. And I appreciate that because making them to get the word out to as many people. All right, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.